Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today, I wanted to talk about what it means to play for the New York Knicks. What I mean by that is, of course, I've never played for the New York Knicks, but not every NBA player is able to play for the New York Knicks. And it has nothing to do with talent. It has to do with heart. Now, if you're from New York, when you know what I mean when I say a player has heart. What does that mean? That means no matter what the competitive situation, no matter how hard it gets, they're not going to, what we used to call it, freezing up. They're not going to freeze up. They're not scared of the moment. They will take it or leave it, but they're going to go hard at you. No matter who's there, how many people are there, or what the situation is. That's a New York thing. Now, not all NBA players play like that. Generally, like, for example, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, I remember, the first time I saw this was 2015, 2016. It was him and Russell Westbrook. Brooke was in the playoffs. They were on the same team, Oklahoma City. I don't know if James Harden was on that team or not, but they had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and they had of course a cast of players. Serge Ibaka was on that team. They had a cast of players. They had a really good team, and so that playoffs they was mowing through people, and they got to the Western Conference Finals. They were beating people 4-1, 4-2 in the playoff, and they got to the Western Conference Finals against Golden State. And something interesting happened. I remember distinctly. They were beating Golden State 3-1. Okay? It was game 5. And they were actually in game 5 beating Golden State badly. Now, in the NBA, everybody knows, no matter what team you playing, no matter how bad they are, at some point in the game, they're going to make a run. They all do. Sometimes the runs come up short, like as Knicks fans, we've seen that many times. But every team's going to make a run, especially if they're good teams. They're going to make a run. Now, if you can withstand the run, that's how you win the game. That's just part of the thing. But this particular situation, it was 3-1, and Oklahoma City was on the verge of knocking Golden State out the playoffs. Okay, Golden State, who would eventually win 3 championships in this era, So, or maybe 4, it was 3 championships, 3 or 4, I can't remember now. But anyway, I remember this game. So, Golden State started to make their run. And a look came over Kevin Durant's face. It was a deer in headlights look. Like Russell Westbrook was trying to crush them, trying to finish them. But the problem with Westbrook is that if you cut off his ability to get to the hole, and that's hard to do because he is extremely athletic, one of the most athletic guards I've ever seen, he can't really hit jump shots on a consistent basis. It's just a weakness of his. So, but Kevin Durant can. So I saw this look, and Westbrook was trying his best to put the nail in the coffin. But Kevin Durant had this look like he was a deer in headlights, like he was like he got stage fright, and all of a sudden he couldn't hit a jump shot, he couldn't get to the hole, he couldn't do anything. And Golden State won that game, and I knew right there it was going to turn. Everything was going to turn. Because at that point he started playing scared instead of playing to crush the competition. Like on the opposite end of the floor, a different look came over Stephen Curry. His look was, no, I'm not going out like that. Him and Klay Thompson look was, no, we're not going out like this. And if we get this run going and get ahead of you, we're going to beat you. Certain players have that look. You can see it in their eyes. You know who else has it? And don't get confused. Like Stephen Curry has this baby face, but that boy's a killer. You know who else is like that? Trae Young. Look at his eyes next time. He looked like a little baby, man. But that boy's a killer. Okay? He ain't gonna freeze up. No way. No place. He's gonna be ready. The crowd, he could be at home. He could be on the road. It's not gonna matter. One of my favorite Knicks of all time, Latrell Sprewell, was like that. Didn't matter what the situation was. He was coming at you. Right? But there's certain players that freeze up, that can't handle New York. And New York is not you can't do that in New York. And the reason is, of course, I'm always talking about our fans, right? We got 8 million people in the city. We got, probably 10, 15, 20 million people in the whole tri-state area that are New York fans, not including the people worldwide that are moved away like myself. There's a lot of people in New York, a lot of rabid fans, and everybody got an opinion, and it's strong. But that's not the problem. The problem is the media. Okay, that's why it's hard to play in New York. It's not the crowd, it's the media. And I don't know what it is that James Dolan has done to media. I mean, I remember I can't remember if it was the 90s or the early 2000s, that he would not allow Daily News, Frank Asola to come to get interviewed, because Asola was writing some stupidness about the Knicks every chance he got. Philip Bondi's another one. There's a few of these guys that write for the Ringer. It's like they have this thing where they have to try to destroy the Knicks with their pen, And then unfortunately some of our fans pick up on it and start believing that mess. Let me tell y'all, don't believe everything that these guys write. They don't always, when you read the Bleacher Report, they don't always know what they're talking about. In fact, most times they don't know what they're talking about. And you should approach it from that perspective. Most times, these guys don't know what they're talking about. Especially if they writers. See, a writer writes, cool, right? That don't mean he played. That don't mean he coached. That don't mean he scouted. Just because you have access to superstars, don't mean you know anything about the game. Okay? And so a lot of these guys are basically, I call them basketball philosophers. They don't know what they're talking about, but they get a platform. You give anybody a platform and you give millions of dollars in studio and all that, to make you sound like you're an expert and you don't know what you're talking about. Colin Cowherd has no idea what he's talking about most of the time. And some of the players have told him that. Okay? So the media in New York is hard. Like, you get Mark Berman. And sometimes I like Mark Berman, but he's an original, of the New York Post, but he'll go into a press conference and he'll ask a hard question, but he asks it like he's innocent. Like he'll say something like this, I noticed, Frank only played 10 minutes tonight. Is everything all right? Is he healthy? And the coach will say, like Fizdale will say, oh no, I just decided to go with Moutier today for the matchup. Next day in the New York Post, coach hates Frank Ntilikina. They'll do stuff like that. And Berman, he can go either way. But that's part of the thing. And then in New York, whenever any game, after every game, like if you look at Oklahoma City, we're just talking about Oklahoma City, after a game, might be 2 or 3 reporters. In New York, it's like the president is talking when the coach comes out after a game. Okay, and the players are surrounded by media. It's much more intense. Okay, much more intense. And because of their dislike of Dolan, the media on a nationwide basis hates the Knicks. Just understand that. They hate the Knicks. They're going to speak negative of the Knicks. They're going to make the Knicks look stupid. Dolan has not made any, very wise decisions. We know that, but he ain't the devil. And not no more than the guy that used to be owning the Clippers or Morris Schott or the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He ain't no different than them. He's just in New York. And so, you have to have a certain level of confidence in yourself and your ability and determination to be able to play in New York, just to be able to play. Like one of the things I loved about RJ Barrett, he asked for New York. Remember that? They interviewed Zion Williamson and they said, what do you think about, because he was playing in the Garden in a tournament with Duke, and they asked him, what do you think about, if you got drafted by the Knicks? He said, oh, Knicks are RJ's team. RJ, would you want to play for the Knicks? And then all of a sudden you heard in the background, he was like, yeah, like that. And then he had the press conference where he said, yeah, I'm a Knick. He wanted to play. He wanted to be here. He wants the spotlight. That's what you want in your team right there. Aside from his talent, and I believe RJ Barrett is the next coming of Jimmy Butler. I think he's going to be better than Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler's really good. But that's what you want on your team, right? You don't want nobody that's a punk, for lack of a better word, scared, can't handle it. It's not for everybody. Kevin Durant went to Brooklyn because he was following Kyrie Irving. Now, Kyrie Irving, say what you want about Irving. He got heart. He gets hurt all the time. Definitely gets hurt all the time. And some stupidness come out of his mouth sometimes. But when he go out to play, he don't care where he is. He coming at you. Okay? He coming at you. But Durant is not like that. And not all, see, you don't really know until they get here, because it's easier to play against the Knicks. That's every team, every player gets hyped to play in the Garden against the Knicks. Cause it's like a pelt on their wall. We came to New York and destroyed the Knicks. And in Madison Square Garden. They like that. But to play for the Knicks, it takes some heart. Not every player you want. You just because you look at a Giannis or you look at a LeBron or you look at, I'm not saying these players come play, but not just because you're, well, we should go get this one, go get that one. Think about, can they play for the New York Knicks? Will they perform? Okay. And that's why it's a blessing that we're rebuilding. You know why I say that? Because the players that we have will get used to playing in New York. They'll be brought up, they'll be developed and raised from young ones in New York. Because if you could play in New York, you could play anywhere. Right? So we have to be careful. Like we looking for Davis Bertans, or we looking for Danilo Gallinari, or we looking for Jeremy Grant. Can they play in New York? Like we know Gallinari can because he's been here. Right? But I'm just saying, can they play in New York? We're looking at, these rookies that we coming in and expecting them to just take over. First of all, they rookies. That's going to take some time. And second of all, we in New York. We in New York. You know what I mean? So, anybody that gets drafted in this draft by the Knicks, watch. When they show up for the press conference, it's going to be like the president. They're going to get a bigger press conference than the president when they get introduced here. Okay? There's nothing like it. That's why New York is the greatest city on planet Earth to me. Okay? There's no comparison. Now, I ain't been across the sea and all that, but I've been in a lot of big cities here, like Atlanta, LA, Chicago. I've been to these places. Dallas. Ain't nothing like New York. No way. Okay? And it's because of the energy of the people. But the media here is hard. And the players got to be ready for that. They got to be ready for that. Kevin Durant is not a New York guy. He's not a Knicks guy. He's a Brooklyn guy. Okay? He couldn't play for the Knicks. This is just a fact of life. Okay? So, whereas like a guy like a Latrell Sprewell, that boy, when we got him, I was hyped because I knew he could play for New York. And that's why I'm hyped about R.J. Barrett. He is a New York guy. He's a Knicks guy. And you combine that with a Tom Thibodeau, because Thibodeau don't care. That's what I mean. He got heart. All right? He's not trying to hide from it. We got something. Knicks fans, Knicks Nation, we got something. And just be careful who you asking to come play here, because not all of them could do it. All right? Shalom.